Canada is a nation of combined race, religion, and culture, built upon the rights enshrined in our charter. It is an inarguable fact that we can look at ourselves and say that we have failed in so many regards, but still here we are, one country, and still intact. Surely this is not due to the efforts of any political party who, while distracting us with their ideas of separation, took the opportunity to rip us off. The conservative free trade deals, the liberal ad scam, sponsorship scandal, they're all the same. They've committed mass human rights abuses. They have sold their country to American interests and combined have screwed us. There's not one party that can claim to be innocent. And the challenge here today is to identify that the problem is towing the party line. One of the largest failed nation states of world history is 150 miles away from here. We can look to them and see what kind of vision Stephen Harper and Dave McKenzie have in store for us. Tax credits are great for people who have money, but totally meaningless to those who don't. You cannot get a tax credit on zero income. This will result in the poorest people of our nation being responsible for the debt of a system that they cannot afford to use. There will not be any new deals for Canadians. They will only move spending priorities around like a shell game. Farmers have nothing to gain from a conservative government that believes in the American system. There will be no new spending priorities from a conservative government. They will not subsidize you or protect you from oilseed imports or the failing beef industry or the agricultural commodity falling prices in general. The greatest problem in farming today is the perception that subsidies to farmers are bad, but big expensive allowances to corporations seem to be good. There are bigger tax breaks for a grocery store than there is for a farmer. Little do they realize that tax breaks to big enterprise will not put food in our stomachs after the farmers can no longer afford to feed us. The Conservatives, NDP, the Bloc, and the Liberals have all held Parliament hostage, preventing Canada from bringing forward important social changes while denying us the right to a fully functioning government. This is obviously indicative of the future under partisan rule. Ask your MP what he did to change anything in Ottawa, and there's very little that he can tell you aside from the fact that he voted with his leader, which leads me to believe that he is not his own man and voted without due regard for all of his constituents, favoring a select few friends and party members. He has not helped our farmers, the disabled, or our seniors. He has not reduced wait times in our hospital or improved local infrastructure. We do not have a new hospital, which is financed partially through the federal provincial transfer payment system. So tell us again that the federal government has no control or role in the appropriation of its own money. Violence against women is on the rise, and crime against families is on the rise. Hardcore drug use is flourishing, hence the opening of a methadone clinic in downtown Woodstock. Where have you been, Mr. McKenzie? What have you done to change anything in Oxford? In fact, your past 2 years have been spent bad-mouthing the incumbent government and planning the next corporate takeover of Canada by your big-money Western-based Reform Party, instead of getting anything done. We've all been to work in the last 2 years. Where have you been? If I were elected, I would push for universal education up to and including post-secondary medical schools at no cost to any student. Canada needs to combat failing literacy. I believe that the only way to elevate our society is to educate and feed it. Cost-free education will improve the lives of millions who are saddled by high tuition debt loads. Free medical school would decrease the doctor shortage. How can the government see fit to charge someone full value for an education and then restrict their earning capacity? Educate the masses, provide social stability, and emphasize healthy living. If you have an educated, healthy population, you will have a great nation. If I were to represent Oxford, I would stand for every individual in the riding, not just my friends and family. I would demand public input and request that all people put forward their ideas. I would build on consensus, not this stupid division. I would seek an open and free vote for all members of Parliament through secret balloting. I would stand for Oxford and the unique identity that we have here. Ottawa has failed us. Our elected member has failed us. It's time that we have an actual voice here, not the voices of outsiders like Harper, Martin, and Layton. Mackenzie is a mouthpiece for Harper, and will never get anything for us here in Oxford. These guys have all been standing up Canada, while the rest of us have been at her defense. We need local solutions for local problems. I see to it that Oxford had its view heard. Everybody knows that the squeakiest wheel gets the grease, and I challenge any of you to point out someone up here with a bigger mouth than mine.
Thank you, Mr. Bender. Quite a challenge.
I'm not going to tell you that I would have all of the answers for you, but I do know one thing, that in a free education system that would accommodate university, college, technical schools, medical schools, that first off, the government would be supplying that, so the education needs are kind of, the question really doesn't really matter as far as that goes. But what needs to be done, those small and medium-sized employers should be supplying better information to the schools, technical schools, colleges, what their present and future identifiable needs are, and the government should be willing and ready to accommodate that if they're willing to see our country prosper. Thank you. An interesting thing here. I don't think that corporate tax rates really need to fall. I think that we value our social system and our healthcare system and all the social welfare programs that are available to us in Canada here. And I think it would be a failure of our social system to dump those rates in favor of a few bucks to some corporation that has no feelings anyways. I could care less about any corporation as far as that goes, because they have no personal feelings for anybody. They've not been responsible to any Canadian. Kelsey Hayes packed up and moved. What did a tax credit do for them, or a tax break or anything do for them? Did absolutely zilch nothing. So, in favor of that? No, I'm not in favor of that. I think that we should have absolutely no personal income taxes. I think that taxes should be based on a value-added system, so when you go to the checkout, you pay your taxes there. So the people that have all the money, that are buying the Hummers and Mercedes-Benz and the $500,000 houses, they pay the taxes. The people that have no money and only have $600 a month to live on, they don't pay nearly as much tax. There shouldn't be any tax at a grocery counter. I believe that that is something that we could work on. I also think that with the legalization of marijuana, that there are billions and billions of dollars that could be accessed quite easily. I think on top of that, the Americans and many other people who come here to vacation here to smoke our pot, and I think that, as well as myself, and I think that on top of that, the cost reduction in prohibition savings would be massive. Thank you. With $5 billion available right now, if they were to legalize marijuana today, they would take that much money away from the criminals. If you don't want the criminals to have the money, take it away from them. That's the #1 way to start.
Thank you.
Lofty question, but and it's composed of many different things. Number one, I would say the zoning laws in all of our regions should pretty well be amended so that we can accommodate simple dwellings. Cheaper housing is #1 start. There should be more high-density housing going on, and instead of wasting all of our available agricultural space. I think that not having a down payment system might not be a bad idea, considering the bank can just walk up to you and kick you out of your house anytime they like anyways. It's pretty unlikely you're going to load your house up onto the back of the trailer and drive away with it. So why people have to come up with a big pile of money in the first place is beyond me. Property tax rebates to homeowners who restore their homes to an energy efficient system may not be a bad idea as well. And the last part of the question, which is kind of large, and it's to do with First Nations housing. I believe that the First Nations policy should be a self-directed policy with the goal of self-sustenance, and it should be financed by the federal government. Really, we have no determination of what they're doing on the reserves, and it shouldn't really be up to us, but there should be control mechanisms in place to see that the money is spent properly, not just handed out and peed away. That's basically my answer to that.